Hello and welcome to another edition of PORA Raw as Promised. We are going to go over a matter of faith today. I'm your host, David Russell, and I'm here with my co-host, David Paulman. What's up, David?
How's it going, Russell? I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah, me too. You know what's funny is that we've been trying to do this for like a while now. So it's like
it's gonna be a movie review.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I'm a little excited about something else too, and I'm going to bring this up. On YouTube, we got some requests. Jordan asked if we could do Apologia, a couple of his videos in the future. He didn't specify, but a gentleman named Diego Fuentes has, and he asked if we could actually do the Friendly Atheist again and do more of his Genesis videos. If we could critique more of his Genesis videos. So that was cool. Guys, honestly, I think that I want to do some Inquisitor as well. So I will definitely put those on the list. An Apologia video, maybe, or Apologia. I don't even know his name. You know who it is? Apologia.
That's how I pronounced it. Apologia.
Apologia. Yeah, and then we've got. We'll definitely do the Friendly Atheist again, and we'll put those on the list to do. But yeah, this is going to be our first movie review. So David, why don't you tell us a little about this movie?
Sure. Yeah. When I first saw it, I was actually a young Earth creationist, but even then, I mean, it was kind of not that great. Put it this way, I'm not against young Earth creationism, but this movie exemplifies everything that is wrong with the way a lot of people argue for young Earth creationism.
Yes, it actually does. It goes into some bad stuff. Like, the movie itself, to me, doesn't make sense. The acting was terrible.
Yeah, so first of all, the problems with Christian films in general, they're almost all low budget. They're made for like a very small audience. There's a market for them, but it's a pretty small one, and a lot of them are just you can just tell they're like so giving people the story they want to hear. So you got all these like the God's Not Dead movies, like paint Christians like they're this persecuted minority and stuff. I mean, it's just not the case in American society. Christians are not persecuted. Are there, examples where there's some unfairness that goes on? Sure, but in general, if you're a Christian, you're probably not a martyr in the United States. And so just some of the way they serve these movies up is kind of annoying. And so, yeah, in general, I'm not a fan of Christian films because, I mean, like you said, the acting is generally not good. Budgets are low. Stories are terrible. And this one is just kind of a quintessential example of a bad Christian film.
So, but there's some good ones out there. I mean, let's not knock them all. What are your favorites, man? Which one would you put up the top of the list?
I really liked Risen. At least the first 2/3 of the movie Risen, I thought was pretty good. The TV show The Chosen, that one's pretty good. The TV series The Bible, that one had some enjoyable moments. But yeah, I'm not thinking of a whole lot.
I really like The Case for Christ, the one about Lee Strobel. I
thought
they did an excellent job in that.
That was a good one.
I asked Gary Habermas if he liked who played him in that movie, and his response was, well, he was younger and was skinnier than I was, and so yeah, I can't complain. Nothing to complain about. In his typical Gary fashion. I loved it, but it was I love that movie. I thought that movie was great. My wife enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I did like the newer one about Jeremy Camp. They had this one about his life. That was pretty good. Facing the Giants, even though some of the acting was bad, it was cool to see that type of motivational type of movie. Facing the Giants, I thought was pretty cool. And yeah, that's of course The Passion of the Christ. That was a phenomenal.
That one almost doesn't count as a Christian movie though. But
yeah, but then we've got what is it? The Chosen series that's out now. So I do want to promote that. I mean, that is an amazing show. I thought it was well done for the type of budget they had. It's a totally viewer-funded film. series, you know. And I just got word yesterday they got fully funded for season 2.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I love the series. I've watched it a couple times. Sent it over to some friends and so forth. It was great. It's a great show. Overall, but yeah. So a matter of faith. So Dave, can you tell us a little bit about the actual movie itself? Do you remember the synopsis and the plot or whatever it is that they call it?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, we're not going to play through the whole film. Obviously, that would take us forever. We just selected out 10 clips, 10 scenes from the movie to kind of discuss, and so we'll play those for you. But yeah, there's not going to be a whole lot from the beginning, so to kind of set the stage so that it makes sense for y'all. Basically, the story is of this girl who is going off to college, and she learning about the theory of evolution, and that's apparently undermining her Christian faith. So her dad finds out about that, and it upsets him, and so he goes down to the college, and I don't know what he thought he was going to do about it, but he goes down to the college to complain, and one thing leads to another, and it all comes down to this big public debate between the girl's dad and her evolutionary biologist professor. And so, you got this big David and Goliath thing. And, through it all, she's got big problems with it because it's going to be embarrassing for her and stuff. And, so we'll see a little bit of that as we go through the scenes. But that's the basic story of that's kind of how it goes. And, of course, the creationists win in the end. And, we're all happy. So, because obviously young earth creationism is obviously true, right? So.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna start this to share this. You will get with it, bro. All right, so here we are, Mr. Professor here. I can't even remember his name.
Cayman.
Cayman, there you go. All right, so Professor Cayman, we're going to start with this one.
Besides, we can look at this whole thing from another angle. For one thing, Mr. Blair can certainly outrun anyone in this class, but better than that, if he had run the 1,500 meters in that kind of time in the 1896 Olympics, he would have won gold. He'd won by 30 seconds. And if he'd done the same in the 1904 Olympics, he would have won by 2 seconds. Do you see what's happening here? As we evolve, we're getting faster, stronger, smarter. Look at the technological leaps that have happened just in the last 50 years. Imagine what our species is going to be like 100 years from now.
All right, David. Let's talk about that scene. That's the first one we picked.
Yeah, well, so kind of in setting up Professor Cayman as the big bad guy, and we'll kind of see this on another scene too. They try to paint him as this guy who doesn't actually have any scientific evidence supporting his claims, but he's just a really good talker. And is very convincing. And apparently to the makers of this movie, that's what they regard evolutionists as, people who have, no evidence in support of their claims, but they're really just, very convincing. And so that's how they win people over. And, I'm not an evolution. I don't believe in evolution myself, but there's more to it than that. There is evidence there that needs to be discussed, and it's not being shown in the film, right? So I've had conversations with people who believe in the theory of evolution, and they're going to point to transitionary forms in the fossil record. They're going to point to shared genetic similarities between animals. They're going to point to nested homologies. They're going to point to similarities in embryos, and so. Like fossil genes, pseudogenes, things like that. These are the sorts of arguments that evolutionists use, or at any rate, these are the best arguments in favor of the theory of evolution. Now, if you're watching this movie, you don't know anything about any of that. They don't tell you about that, and so I don't know. Either the makers of the film just really aren't familiar with the arguments in favor of the theory of evolution, or else they're just blatantly, making evolutionists appear to just be people who are gifted communicators. And that seems to me unfair. And I mean, I get it's a movie, it's trying to tell a story, but in point of fact, it's not really representing evolutionists fairly.
No, it's not. It's really misrepresenting that paradigm, and not only that, but it's intellectually dishonest to me. I
Right.
think it goes that far. A side note, though, is the acting. We know that this is the problem. The girl is contemplating. She's really like, oh no, there's something wrong with this. Oh, and it's just like, I'm like, come on now. Is this where we've come to? You know what I mean? So it's just the acting's terrible. The guy's just making a point. Please just stop misrepresenting that side. It is a school. You're going to be challenged with different worldviews, and you should be prepared for that. So, in my opinion, yes. First clip, they're setting up this guy to just be a gifted communicator. You're absolutely right. They're trying to paint these guys as just people that talk a lot and that have bad evidence and so forth, or no evidence. They're just good talkers, but that's not the case, and it's intellectually dishonest. And I think the producers knew what they're doing. I don't think they're that naive. They plan on the audience being that naive because they probably thought they were just going to show this to a bunch of homeschoolers that are taught young Earth creationists from Kinham's books.
I mean, it may well be. I'm even willing to say that maybe like Rich Cristiano and the people who, produced this film, maybe they were just ignorant and that is their belief. But if you're going to like make a movie about why evolution is wrong, shouldn't you have done your due diligence and, like read, so, like even if it's just like, a popular thing like Richard Dawkins books, like The Blind Watchmaker or something. Shouldn't you have done some kind of research on what the actual arguments for the theory of evolution are if you're going to make a whole movie on why it's wrong? I think you might want to like do a little research and engage with the actual arguments instead of whatever that
There's
was
no
they set up.
excuse. Bro, there's
Yeah.
no excuse. We live in an age where you can pull information off of YouTube. You can pull debates off of YouTube. 2015 wasn't that long ago. They could have pulled off some videos from YouTube and at least got an idea, and that's not what they did. And they totally misrepresented it. I consider it just intellectually dishonest. And like you, I don't believe in evolution either.
Right. Yeah, I would say you and I are,
we
we don't even affirm the theory of evolution, and we know that this is not a fair representation of the theory.
It's really not. And it kind of disgusts me in a way,
Mm-hmm.
because if I'm going to sit there and watch your movie or buy your movie, I want to see at least something good. I mean, David, I fell asleep during the debate. That's the climax of the story.
I was going to say that is
there.
a surprise.
I was sitting there, and I was like, oh, yeah, me and David are going to go over this. We keep promising. I kept putting it off because I can't stand this movie, right? I kept putting it off. So I get home. I put the movie on. I'm watching it. Man, it's the climax. It's the debate. Next thing you know, I pop my head up. It's 2 hours later. The movie's sitting there over, like the still screen's on. I'm like, did I really fall asleep during the debate part? Are you kidding me? That's the climax. So, sorry guys, we're gonna be torturing your ears just a little bit more, but we promised we would do this, and we have fun with it anyway. So,
Right.
All right, second clip.
Excuse me, good looking.
Me?
Yes, you. You want to make $100?
$100.
Yeah, $100.
By the way, he's the most believable in the movie.
Yeah, right. What's the catch?
No catch. You just let me crack these 3 eggs over your head, and this $100 bill is yours.
What?
You heard me. I crack these eggs over your head, and this $100 bill is yours.
Do it, Tyler. Come on, this is a joke, right?
Here, your friend can hold the bill.
It's real money, man. That's a lot of cash. What gives?
May seem like a lot to you, but where I come from, that's fair change.
Just do it, man. Come on. Come on, man. $100. $100.
Do
it. Dude, easy money, bro.
3 eggs.
Do it. Come on, yeah, dude. Let's go. Okay, go for it. What do I need to do?
Just sit right there.
All right.
Tyler. I'm talking about.
$100 right here.
Here comes egg number 1.
Look at him, dude.
Okay, and now egg number 2. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right, let's do it. Scrambled, son.
All right, one more to go, boys. And that 100's mine.
$100, let's go.
That's the last one.
Yeah, I think 2's enough. I'll just take this 100.
Wait,
Oh,
what?
Hey, that's 100.
I said 3 eggs. I only did 2. Bye.
Oh, there goes your money.
What?
$100.
That's unfair. It's unfair.
Oh.
I think that's the best scene in the movie, actually.
I think the guy there is actually the best actor in the whole movie. He's like the most believable, even with his "it's unfair, it's unfair." I didn't enjoy that, but like, come on, the girl couldn't even actually crack the eggs over his head. She actually put it in his face. It wasn't even over his head. So he should have got the $100 by default.
That is true, yeah. I mean, that was so predictable too. You wonder how we didn't see that coming. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of commentary we were gonna probably give on that scene. I just included it because we needed one more, and that. I'll tell you, when I tell you that is the best scene in the movie, I'm not kidding. So like, the movie doesn't get any better than that. That scene is like the only thing that maybe qualified as a little comedy relief. So
yeah. Even though she couldn't get it on his head. And where did she put the egg shells? She just put them on the floor for some waitress to clean up? How rude, man.
college students, bro.
Oh my gosh. I was never that bad in college. I mean, we would hang out at like the Silver Diner. We were hanging out at the Silver Diner, and we'd always respect the waitresses at least and wouldn't make a huge mess. Now we get a little loud and rowdy, but we never like created extra mess for someone else to clean up. But
well,
anyways,
I mean,
maybe I just have better ethics than you.
maybe because I used to sabotage the dorm bathrooms, man. I mean, I was bad. I remember one time I bought like these plastic turds and fart spray, and I left those turds around the bathroom, and I sprayed it up real good, and people, yeah, came running out of there effectively. So I was very bad in my freshman year.
All right, I think the next clip is Dad stalking the professor.
The guy's an evolutionist and a big proponent of it, Pastor. He's written several published articles. I mean, it's a long list. And there's nothing in the whole course description about biblical creation as even a plausible alternative from what I can see.
Surprise!
All public schools and universities teach evolution as the answer to the origins of life. Even some of our Christian schools are buying into the evolution theory as part of the creation account. You're kidding. The attack on Genesis is a real battleground.
Well, I certainly don't like the idea of Rachel sitting under this guy in class.
Have you had a chance to speak to her about it?
No, not yet, but I will. Actually, she's not the one I'd like to talk to.
Oh, all right. So first thing that comes into my head is like, dude, have you been living under a rock? I mean, like, you have to like be making a deliberate effort to not know anything about the outside world if you don't think that you're going to send your kid off to a secular college and, you know, take a biology class, and she's not going to learn about the theory of evolution. You seriously have got to be living under a rock. I mean, like,
It's so unbelievable, it's sickening.
and the pastor too. I mean, like in his sermons, does he not mention this? I mean, in my own church, and I mean, you know, I go to like one of those churches that's like kind of, well, you know, they keep the people kind of sheltered. But I mean, the people in my church, they know about the theory of evolution and know that this is what people there out in the world and in secular universities believe just from the preaching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I can't believe how, like, how would you not know that? And then the other thing is the pastor says that, you know, they teach, and this comes up a lot in the film, that evolution is the answer to the origins of life. Like, newsflash, people, the theory of evolution has nothing to do with the origins of life, all right? The theory of evolution, it's a theory about the development of life. It says nothing about the origin of life. And, like, this is known. This is basic. This is evolution 101, that the whole theory presupposes the existence of life. It's not a theory about the origin of life. And, like, that's a mistake that they make over and over and over again in the movie, is that, oh, evolution is about the origin of life. No, it's not.
Well, what really cracks me up is that, okay, this guy goes out of his way to basically social media stalk this professor, right? Instead of like realizing, okay, this is where my daughter's going to college. This is who her professors are going to be if she's a biologist. This is kind of what their bio is. Instead of like maybe scoping them out, now it's after the fact, after your kid's been exposed, which you should expose your kids to other worldviews. That's how they learn. You should have inoculated your daughter before she even got out to go to college. She should have known what adversity she was going to face. That's why Braxton Hunter says apologetics is evangelism. We need to teach our kids apologetics to at least a degree that will prepare them to face what they're going to face in the secular world. We're not going to be able to get them through every little thing or teach them every little thing, but we're going to be able to prepare them a lot better, especially if we find a way to do some sort of relational apologetics in the home.
Yeah, that was another whole thing, like, about this dad's disposition in the story, right? It's like he doesn't like the idea of his daughter hearing ideas that, come into conflict with what he's taught her her whole life. Like, that's gonna happen. Okay, you live in a world with different people with different opinions. Do you really expect people to never come into contact with any other beliefs? That's first, it's not good to, like you said, to have people like this in this frame of mind that they're not willing to consider other positions. You should be believing what you believe because it's true, not because this is what you were taught. And if your views can't stand up to critical scrutiny, then maybe you should change them.
Yeah, well, not only that, but you got to think, like what you said, this dad's living under a rock.
Basically,
at this point, how do we know what she knows at all? How did she even graduate? What did he ever teach her? Did he not teach her anything? I mean, he couldn't have, because he lived under a rock. So it's like, this is just as much as a shock to him as it is to her, At least she takes it with a little bit more grace until she starts getting embarrassed. And then you could see maybe that, yeah, okay, there's the problem in the family. They just really don't know how to live in the real world, because she gets mad at daddy and flips out on daddy, and daddy doesn't know how to handle it. He thinks his relationship is in crisis. And I'm sitting here, if I'm an atheist watching this movie, I'm going to be like, yeah, Christians are idiots.
I mean, it does give that idea. And there was one other thing I wanted to say on that too. Oh goodness, I can't remember what it is now. Well, maybe it'll come back to me.
All right, let's move on.
Professor Kamen?
Yes.
My name is Stephen Whitaker. May I speak with you for a moment?
Sure. I'm sorry, have we met?
No, but my daughter is in your freshman biology class, Rachel Whitaker.
Ah, Rachel, she's a pleasure to have in class.
Thank you. Professor Kamen, I don't mean to come off so direct or with any disrespect, but I'm concerned about what you're teaching in your class.
Is that so? Can you give me an example?
Well, it seems your class deals quite a bit with the subject of evolution.
Yes, it does.
Can you explain to me why you teach only evolution?
Sure, but first let me ask you, Mr. Whitaker, are you a religious man?
A religious man?
Well, you believe in God and the Bible?
Well, yes, sir, I do.
And does that help you?
Help me?
Does that help you to be at peace with yourself?
Yes, it does.
Well, then I think that's great, and I would encourage you to go on believing.
But you're teaching evolution.
Mr. Whitaker, I teach what my textbooks tell me to teach. It comes from real people who have conducted real experiments and observed real evidence, and frankly, I'm at peace with that.
But it goes against the core beliefs of everything we've been teaching, Rachel, all her life. Against what Christianity stands for.
All right, so here's
famous confrontation.
I just wanted to think. was she homeschooled? Because, like, if she went to public school, wouldn't she have learned about the theory of evolution there? I feel like if this is, like, the first time that she's ever
Oh
coming
man,
in contact with
they're
it.
like the Croods. They lived in a cave and shut it up, man.
Well, I mean, we know he's been living under a rock because, and here's the
That's
thing: what did he think he was going to accomplish? And like this whole scene is like, I mean, I know it was necessary for the story in order to, have the two titans meet to set up the debate, but really, what did he think
not
he was
even a
going to
titan,
accomplish?
dude. He's like a fish.
You're right,
I
but
mean, at least there's a kraken if we go mythological. I mean, this guy was not even close to a dolphin, dude. I mean, this guy was like a tuna fish.
he's
But
going to go.
anyways, okay. So here's my thing. Okay, you approach a professor on his turf in his classroom,
In his office.
and the dad just totally blunders. I mean, he comes in, hey, I'm concerned with what you're teaching in your class. And the professor kind of like has to draw it out of him, right? So what really bothers me is like he says, are you a religious man? And the dad's like,
I don't know what that means. I've been living
what does
under
that
a
mean?
rock.
But you know what? Yeah, exactly. So it's like, dude, you're not even ready to give an answer. So like, so first off, you came in there. What did you think you're gonna do? Just like say that, you're teaching evolution, and the guy was gonna be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I mean, but the writers of this are at blame.
Mhm.
The writers are at blame because
Yeah, I mean,
they come off with this father, and they make him look so stupid because they don't want him to be a professional. They want him to be a non-professional going against a professional.
and
But
also like,
go ahead.
go ahead.
I'll let you go.
Well, let's say what's the deal here? It's like he's going in here. I'm concerned. Like is the moral of the story? I'm concerned about what you're teaching in your class, but I don't know anything about the topic because I've never studied it a day in my life. I mean,
Yeah, and it's blatantly obvious when he says, "I'm at peace. You can go on believing what you want to believe. That's fine." And the guy's like, "But you're teaching evolution. Like it's a freaking crime, dude. Are you
I
kidding
know.
me?" It's like,
Like,
yeah, he's a college professor, and that's what his textbooks tell him. And it goes against everything you taught your kid. What did you teach your kid? Because your lack of understanding in just how to approach people is concerning.
and you know what the biggest issue with this whole scene and really indeed the whole movie is? It's all about what we're believing, right? It's all about oh well, he believes evolution. Is he really giving us any evidence for that? No, he's just saying, oh well, real people and real scientists have conducted these experiments. And then on the other hand, from the Christian side, it's like, oh, well, we just believe the Bible. But like at no point has anyone discussed anything about the actual evidence for the theory of evolution, evidence against the theory of evolution, evidence for the truth of the Bible, the reasons that justify our beliefs are they just don't exist in this movie. It's all about, oh, well, this is like what I've taught her. Oh, this is like, well, this is what my textbooks tell me to teach. This is what the Bible says. It's all about the dogmas and nothing about supporting reasons.
And they're setting up the political paradigm that many Christians have felt throughout the country, and they're just feeding off of it. The paradigm of them saying, hey, look, Christian is that persecuted minority you want to say. Now, as far as, persecution goes, yeah, I could say Michael B., he got a little persecuted, but not on the level of like where blood was shed, like they say in Hebrews. You know what I mean? Yeah, did he lose tenure or whatever? Possibly, yeah. I don't know the full story. I can't remember. It's been a while. But is there some sort of like issue with Christianity being, or at least intelligent design being taught in public schools? Of course there is a big fight in those arenas of ideas. Yes, we recognize that. But to be totally oblivious to it, and I know you're trying to set it up, but in a very disingenuous way, does not make our point look very good. It does not make our side look very good. It doesn't. It makes us look like idiots. I hate to say it. Again, if I have an atheist hat on right now, I'm looking at the Christian like, where's this dude coming from? Is he from outer space? You know, was he actually residing in heaven with Jesus and not watching his daughter as she grew up? You know, is this really how Christians think? I mean, that's the scarier thing. Is this really how Christians think? Because if you notice, you know, I'm on Skeptics and Seekers a lot, right? And stuff like this is what they call bat crazy, what David Johnson calls bat crazy, you know, because it shows such a disconnect. It makes us look worse. It's the stuff that gives them this impression that we're crazy. It's these type of ideas. It's those people like in Virginia Beach. I mean, I live in Virginia, so Virginia Beach that are sitting at the end of the corner with signs saying God hates gays, you know? Of course, they use more of a derogatory term. God hates Muslims. God hates Mormons. What on earth do you expect to get accomplished that? It's an abuse of evangelism. Movies like this are an abuse of evangelism. And, this is why it was so hard for me to watch. And probably why I fell asleep during the climax of this movie.
And one other thing I want to point out is throughout this whole movie, there's this false dichotomy that's created between atheism and young earth creationism, as though those were the only two options. And I think that's also a dangerous message, because even though I am not, I don't believe in the theory of evolution myself, there are many people, many committed Christians who accept both Christianity and the theory of evolution.
Well, they're heretics. You know that.
But the point is, you can hold to these. If somebody is really, thinks that the theory of evolution is true, then, let them have that. I would rather have somebody believe in the theory of evolution and believe, in Jesus than think that if they're convinced of the theory of evolution, then they have to reject Jesus. That's dangerous. And this movie doesn't leave any room for that, right?
It doesn't.
I think even both of our position, which would be, basically that the Earth is quite old, but, obviously without evolution, there's no room for that kind of view either. And there's just a really wide spectrum of beliefs between atheism and young Earth creationism. Just among Christians.
I think that's what our show highlights.
Right.
Our show highlights all that stuff, and that there are various views. There are things that need to be discussed, and that's just all there is to it.
Right. And this isn't all the hate on young Earth creationists. If you think that, the evidence for young Earth creationism is good from science and the Bible, absolutely believe that. But please don't pretend that that's the only alternative to atheism out there. There are many other ways that you can go.
Absolutely, brother. I feel you. Let's move on.
Hey, I'll catch up with you later. Excuse me. Your dad's the guy that's going to debate Cayman, right?
Why do you ask?
I'm in your bio class. Why would anyone want to debate Cayman?
He doesn't. I don't want him to.
Have you ever seen that thing that Cayman does where he shows how we all came from apes?
Pardon?
How we all came from apes.
What is it? How do you know?
Stayed after class one day, heard him go through it. He'll make your father look like a complete idiot with that example.
Look, I told you I don't want him to do it.
Excuse me, couldn't help but overhear. Are you talking about Professor Cayman when he goes through his routine about how we all came from apes?
Yeah, have you seen it?
And this dude looks like an orangutan.
I thought it was great.
Let me ask you something. Does your mother look like an ape?
What'd you say?
Does your mother look like an ape?
Watch it, man.
I'll assume that's a no. How about your grandmother? Does she look like an ape?
And who are you?
I'll take that as another no. So your mother doesn't look like an ape, and neither does your grandmother. How about your great-grandmother? Do pictures go that far back in your family? Does she look like an ape?
What's your deal, man?
Cayman says we all apes, so which one in your family was the monkey? I got news for you. You can take it all the way back to the very first man and woman, Adam and Eve. And guess what? No one was ever an ape. You know why? Because apes come from apes, and humans come from humans. Now, who's going to make who look like a complete idiot?
Whitaker?
Dun, dun, dun!
Oh, boy. So who knows what a straw man argument is? Okay, a straw man is when you completely misrepresent the other side, and then you
Oh.
destroy the argument. And it's, of course, it doesn't. It's called a straw man because you've basically all you've done is beat up a a dummy effectively of the other side. You haven't actually addressed their argument. Evolutionists don't say that we came from apes. They say that humans and apes go back to a common hominid ancestor that gave, that both lines ultimately connect at some point along the way from something that would be neither an ape nor a human, but some sort of hominid that gives rise to both. That's
another show at not only the dishonesty, the intellectual dishonesty of this movie, but like you said, it's not only a straw man, but I mean, I just think it's at visceral point. It's like not only are you just totally misrepresenting, you're trying to make a point. Not you're trying to propagandize the people you're trying to show this to.
Right, and then they're going to
try it in a dishonest way, and that's no better than what Germans did in the 1930s. It's no better.
Because here's the thing, you have a Christian who's going to watch that, obviously has never actually read from an evolutionist what they believe. So he encounters someone who believes in the theory of evolution, which, now thanks to watching this movie, he thinks means that we all came from apes. And so, I remember from that movie, the argument they gave, I'll just ask him if his mother and his grandmother and great-grandmother looked like an ape. Monkey in his family was, and he won't want to admit to that, and I'll win the day, and then finds out, evolutionists don't actually believe that we came from apes.
It's kind of a Ray Comfort argument, isn't it?
The point is you're setting your own people up for failure, because if they actually try to use this argument, then you're going to fall flat on your face. Why? Yeah. Because that's not what evolutionists believe. So, it all is really just geared towards making themselves look smart, like they've got this great response to evolution, but this isn't to evolution. Nobody thinks that we came from apes. So this is it's either based on your own misunderstanding of the theory of evolution, or else it's just dishonest, like you said.
Well, David, don't you think that this kind of plays into where our culture is generally? I mean, think about this. We live in an age where memes determine truth. Where one-liners. Back when I was younger, in the early 2000s, it was one-liners. Like people would say, like, play a clip, right? And that was truth. Then it turned into the memes. We live in a culture where people will take a meme and that's truth. We live in a world where, fallacies, no matter how fallacious they are, just because they're fashionable makes them true to people. I don't get it, bro. But I think it highlights it, and I think what it's really saying is that this type of culture is in the church. We live in a society where scriptural literacy is so high that it's unbelievable. It's sad, and this should motivate people like me and you to actually do more of these videos or do more debates and get apologetics out there, teach it in our churches, because we need stuff that's better than this. This is why R.C. Sproul said that he was concerned about the credibility of Christian intellectualism.
Right. And for the viewers, I mean, this, by the way, is why we bring on actual atheists and actual people who believe in evolution. We actually bring people from the other side onto the show so that you can hear it from them, right? I'm not just telling you what evolutionists believe, what atheists believe. I'm not just, here giving you those sorts of arguments and saying, and then, flattening those out and be like, see, here's why there's nothing to them. I'm actually, we're talking about it. We're having the conversation with the atheists. And so, maybe it's not all as nice and fun as it is in a movie, where, the good guys can come out and win. But I think we're doing the more important work here because, now we don't have to misrepresent the other side. We're letting the people hear the other side. And in our view, showing them that Christianity can't actually meet the challenge without, having to construct some false view of it to knock down. But we can actually, we can actually stand up to the real thing.
Absolutely. Good response, bro.
I guess my first question for you, Professor Kamen, and the most important one I can think of is, how do you explain away God?
Explain away?
Yes, what about God?
Simply put, man created God.
Man created God.
I'm 100% with Freud on this one, sir.
Then man created God?
Dr. Sigmund Freud brilliantly observed many years ago that man is riddled with deep-seated fears, living as he does in a world of disease and famine and disaster, with very little control over his circumstance. So yes, he created God. He postulated a being who could deliver him, kind of like a supernatural skyhook that could pull him out of trouble. Man also believed that he was getting a raw deal from just about everybody, so he wanted a cosmic umpire to blow the big whistle and halt the game until everybody got what they deserved. But most of all, man fears death and extinction, and so he needed a heavenly father who could take him at the end to some heavenly place that he decided to call heaven. All because he couldn't face the fact that eventually he was going to vanish from existence.
So what's the purpose of life, Professor Kamen?
We live, and then we die and go back into the earth.
That's it. There's no afterlife.
Face the music, Mr. Whitaker. Elvis is dead. He's left the building. In this life, we get a chance to make a mark. If we do that, maybe the next generation will remember us. Maybe we'll even teach them something. But there is no afterlife.
I believe there's much more than that.
Yeah, you believe, Mr. Whitaker, but do you have any proof of an afterlife?
Proof?
Proof. Scientific proof, any kind of proof.
The Bible says we believe by faith.
Faith in what? In a God we can't see, in a book we can't rely on? I'd like a little scientific proof.
I can't offer scientific proof.
Well, the words in this book that you hold so sacred, how do you even know they're true?
The Bible is very trustworthy.
I didn't ask if it was trustworthy. I asked if it was true.
The Bible is the Word of God.
Wasn't the Bible written by men?
Yes, it was.
Then how does that make it the Word of God?
Look, I can't explain it.
Well, David, he can't explain it.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of Christians are with it, that they can't give any kind of explanation, even though, Scripture tells us to always be ready to give an answer. But the thing is, these aren't even that difficult questions he's asking, right? I mean, like the granted that Christians don't, there's not any agreed upon theory of how inspiration works, but it certainly doesn't see, that there are different theories you can present on how God can have his words I'm not even sure what the word is here, but God can bring his words about through using people, in such a way that, these are still the words of the people as well, so that it's not violating that. So, I mean, this is kind of the problem, I guess, in churches, that people don't get explanations of these sorts of things. Like, these kind of controversies tend to just get, swept under the rug, and so that churches become these big echo chambers. And so, I mean, you honestly do get results like this. This is probably, in some ways kind of an accurate scene as to how, a debate like this might really go between most Christians and an atheist.
It highlights, again, the problem that the church has with apologetics. Several times I was, I was told by somebody very close to me that my study was making me sound like a lunatic, basically. And Little did I know that Festus said that to Paul at the time because it bothered me, and I looked into it, and I was happy to see that somebody accused Paul of the same thing. The issue is that like their church has an adversity to head knowledge. That was the big thing, head knowledge. Oh, you got a lot of head knowledge. You got a head knowledge, but you don't have heart knowledge. My heart doesn't think, okay? My heart pumps. It pumps blood, okay? It pumps blood throughout the rest of my body. My head informs my feelings. It always is that way. It's always going to be that way. You have to love God with all your mind. That's a simple command. It's just as much as important as the heart, if not more, because it's actually informing the heart. It kind of dictates the feelings, you know. The heart will shut down, or the mind will shut down the heart before it shuts itself down. You know what I mean? So, if you think about it, okay, so here's Paul. Paul says, holding firmly the faithful word, which is in accordance with the teaching, so that we will be able both to exhort in sound doctrine and to refute those who contradict it. Our famous apologetics verse, 1 Peter, you know, to everyone give an answer. Jude, contend for the faith. These guys fought. These early church fathers fought. The apostles fought. They dealt with adversity. They dealt with anything under the sun. They did have to refute things. We are called to refute things. We are called to stand up, but not this way. Where this guy basically questions the guy and backs him in the corner, and the guy says, well, it's about faith. Well, yeah. Well, what is faith? You know, that's not answered. You know, it's assumed that it's the modern interpretation of faith as far as like believing blindly. And that's not at all what biblical faith is. And the apostles confirm this. The early church confirmed this as they fought heresies. I mean, this is just the way it is. You got anything on this?
No, I mean, I completely agree with all of that. And I mean, to an extent, that is sort of what the movie is saying here, is that he's not prepared for this sort of thing. But maybe there's also a bit of a lesson here, is that, you know, first of all, we know that Christians are called upon to be defenders of the faith, but we also, you know, see in Scripture that people who are, you know, not apt to teach and who are not you know, skilled in sound doctrine, that these people are to learn before you know, they're engaging in the defense of the faith. So kind of maybe a lesson here is that we see that, you know, the father here, he's not prepared to defend it. And so that there does need to be a time of preparation, learning, becoming grounded in the faith. And I would say that would even include the defense of the faith. You know, you're not doing anyone any favors if you're going out there defending Christianity as, you know, someone who doesn't know how to do it well. So, you know, you're commanded to be an apologist in Scripture, but be a good one.
You know what's crazy, though, is I would almost agree with that fully, except for the fact is I don't think they're trying to make him look as unprepared as we thought, as maybe you're saying, because of the guy that speaks right next to him, you know, that comes up onto the stage. And we're going to get there. But it's that end clip where the other gentleman gets up and starts talking that makes me think that, no, this is what they really want to portray. Is blind faith. So let's continue.
Thank you. Well, let me say first that I've never done anything like this before. I do believe, though, that the topic at hand is an important one, and in fact, as I prepared for this debate, it became clearer to me that it's more important than I ever realized. It seems that when the question is posed as to how life came to exist on our planet, the theory of evolution has become the dominant scientific view that is taught in our schools and universities across this great land of ours. Frankly, this amazes me. The first problem I immediately see is that evolution is not scientific in the truest sense of the word, since science deals with what can be observed and reproduced through experimentation. Scientific claims must be accepted only after they have been verified. The origin of life can neither be observed nor reproduced in any laboratory, even though they try to show us this with their...
Oh, all right, Dave. That little scene right there. What do you think?
All right. I guess I got the clips a little bit out of order there. Yeah.
It
Well, a
happens.
lot
You
of
almost got 'em all.
misrepresentation. Again. This issue come up of again saying that evolution is about the origin of life. No, it's not. So I mean, I don't. I feel like the writers or the producers, they just didn't do their research. They wanted to do a movie refuting the theory of evolution. You don't even know what the theory of evolution is or says. And again, it's there's this assumption built into it that evolution can't be compatible with the existence of God. Why should we make that assumption? It's just and then they're almost like, talking about, he like brings up the issue of the Big Bang later on, and he's like, well, what made it go bang and stuff. And I mean, that's not even the issue of evolution at that point. Now you're making a first cause argument.
Really are. And
So
that was
like,
one of the, they relate it too. Oh, what else do they teach? A Big Bang? And it's like, are you kidding me? I
yeah,
mean,
you're getting the idea that
that supports theism.
right, you're getting the idea, like they don't actually they like really wanted to make a movie, I guess, refuting atheism maybe, and like they assume you have to be an evolutionist. But the point is, the writers and producers, they just don't understand the issues. And I mean, that's fine. Not everybody is going to. I get that, but maybe if you don't understand an issue, then you shouldn't be writing a book about it, right? If I don't understand an issue, then I shouldn't write an article about it. If I don't understand an issue, maybe I shouldn't write a post about it, unless maybe I'm asking for recommendations. So if I don't understand an issue, maybe I shouldn't make a movie about it. It's just it's so bad in so many ways.
I'm getting discouraged, David.
I decided to get back in the game. Mind if I take over from here?
Mr. Jameson, if it would be all right, I would like for my friend here to continue for me.
Well, that's not how we normally do things. Is that acceptable to you, Professor Kamen? Proceed.
You never cease to amaze me, Marcus. Of course you're going to agree with Freud's views on God, since evolution leaves no room for a supernatural creator. And since there is no God, then there are no rules, and no one to whom we must give an account. But man didn't create God. Freud got that wrong. In fact, I would propose to you the very opposite. I believe that if man had his way, he would rather God did not exist and eliminate God. Haven't you noticed? Whenever anything goes bad in someone's life, or there is some tragic event that occurs, people, religious and non-religious, almost inevitably blame God. How could God allow this? How could God allow that? No, if man had his way, he would rather eliminate God, not create him. He even comes up with theology that says, God is dead and has left the building. Sorry to be so rude to your guests. My name is Joseph G. Portman. Professor Joseph Portman. You see, 12 years ago, I was the one that taught biology here at the university, only I taught from the perspective that God is our creator. And I refused to teach what I felt were evolutionary lies from the textbook. When Professor came and joined our staff, he got me fired over this very issue. I despised you, Kamen. I blamed you for ruining my career. Sadly for me, I let you take me out of the game. You're talking about how those laboratory experiments have proven that living organisms evolve from non-living chemicals as proof of the naturalistic origin of life. This is just not so. Those experiments only showed that certain organic compounds could be formed from inorganic compounds. And intelligence was, and is, still needed since someone had to conduct and design those experiments. Certainly that's far from creating life in the laboratory. And you know that the amount of information contained in the nucleus of a living cell shows that it could not have evolved from non-living chemicals, and that it must have been created. You know, the fossil record does not show the continuous development of one kind of creature into another, and that no one has ever seen one kind of plant or animal changing into another of a different kind. Dogs change into different kinds of dogs, but they're always dogs. And we can breed dogs to form new varieties, but they never turn into cats or kangaroos because they remain in the boundaries that God created for them in the beginning. And you know that there are layers of assumptions used to calculate the age of the Earth using radiometric dating. So why are you misleading our audience? The Earth is not billions of years old. The Earth is not millions of years old, not even close. You see, the professor and I can go on and on and on and bore you with our technical definitions. Whatever he says, I have a rebuttal, and back and forth. You know, we can go outside right now, and the stars can come down and form the words in the sky. God created the world, and the evolutionists would blame it on those clever Baptists. But no.
All right. Where you at, Dave?
Oh boy. Oh boy, I don't even know where to begin.
You let that
so I guess
go
that's
on long, man. First, hold on, David.
Well,
who gets up in the middle of somebody else's debate to take it over for him? It just doesn't happen.
you just have to when it's that bad, you know? Yeah, there's that issue there, but you know, this is supposed to be like the big knockout punch, right? Where we really go on off the you know, really knock out the theory of evolution. And there's nothing in that. Like, all right, so I guess he's right on, you know, the origin of life issue, but once again, the theory of evolution is not concerned with the origin of life. So the whole, you know, I think his statements they weren't very detailed, but they were accurate enough as far as the origin of life goes. But then, you know, he's talking about, you know, that, you know, dogs, you know, turn into other kinds of dogs, but they never become cats or kangaroos. Well, again, the theory of evolution doesn't say that they do. The theory of evolution doesn't say that one kind of animal produces a different kind of animal. It's that over time, you know, positive mutations accumulate, and that from that you can get new function over time. So you're not going to have a dog give birth to a kangaroo. I mean, that's silly. And again, no one believes that. It's that you could have an animal over time that, you know, has a mutation that, you know, that gives some benefit to it. And so it's preserved through natural selection, and that can be built on over time. And so that over a very long period of time, as these mutations accumulate, you get a different animal, but that's way down the line. So it's not like this type of animal gives birth to this type of animal. It's that you get these slight changes all along the way, and, you know, millions of years later, then yeah, if you compare the two, they're different. And that's the theory of evolution. And so, I mean, he completely misrepresents that. And then, you know, did you notice the part, you know, when he talks about the age of the Earth? He says that there's layers of assumptions built into, you know, these dating methods. Yes, there are. Giving us, he doesn't give us any reason to think that these assumptions are incorrect, right? And I mean, these are assumptions like that. The decay rates and stuff are constant, right? That seems like a pretty reasonable assumption. So he doesn't give us any reason to think that that's wrong. And then he just goes on and states, the Earth is not billions of years old. The Earth is not millions of years old, not even close. So why are you misleading our audience?
And that's the kicker, my friend.
Excuse me, did you give us one piece of evidence to think that the Earth is young or that it's not old? Because, I mean, I didn't hear any if you didn't. And again, that's the age of the Earth is a separate issue from the issue of evolution. So when it comes to the theory of evolution, the whole movie completely misrepresents it. These people who are making this movie, they want to argue against the theory of evolution, and they don't even know what it is.
Well, they want to promote their young Earth creationists, and I'm not surprised that the Westboro Baptist didn't make this video. That's all I gotta say.
No one can scientifically prove evolution, just as no one can scientifically prove that God created the world, since none of us were present to witness it. Both these teachings then become a matter of faith.
Oh, they're equal now.
But David, he just said, basically promoted the idea that seeing is believing, and then just said that it's a matter of faith. Like, that's the answer. So seeing is believing unless it's a matter of faith. It's totally self-defeating.
Right. And here's the thing is that, yes, all world, because like this bugs me when young Earth creationists be like, oh, evolution is a religion, oh, evolution requires faith. Is that they're using faith in different ways. All right. So yes, no worldview can like 100% prove every aspect of it. So we all accept certain things by faith. But here's the thing: not all faith is the same. So it's not like if you've shown that every worldview involves certain faith commitments, then they're all just it's equal playing field. No, you have reasonable faith and you have unreasonable faith. You can make a reasonable inference from evidence. And so, yes, it's not certain, it's not proven, so it does take faith in that sense, but it's reasonable because it's supported by the evidence. Or you could make a faith commitment the opposite direction and go completely, antithetical to the evidence, and that would be unreasonable faith. So just saying that, yeah, there's some faith involved in the theory of evolution, that doesn't put it on the same level as young Earth creationism. No, you have to see, who's got the better reasons.
Yeah. Here we go.
The evolutionist has nothing but vast periods of time, random chance events, and the ever-changing ideas of man to base his worldview upon, while the one who holds to creation has his beliefs firmly rooted in the truths contained in the Bible and a personal God who created everything.
Besides...
All right, David. That's the end of our little charade there. Yeah. So that last piece.
I mean, I cut out the preachy part where, he really starts just delivering a sermon. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that this is completely inappropriate for a debate sometimes when people go preacher. Again, I get it's a movie. They wanted to have the gospel in there, but I feel like there are other ways you could have done that. Just in a debate, if you don't want to be using it as an excuse to preach, all right? Very rarely are you going to get people who are just going to go from atheism to saving faith in Christ, like that. It's going to take time. And so, step one is just giving them good reasons to think God exists. And then you let God, work from there. And of course, when the time is right, then you'll want to give the gospel. But I think something that a lot of evangelicals and fundamentalists need to learn is that every opportunity to speak is not necessarily an opportunity to preach. And sometimes it can be counterproductive if you just are up there to preach, especially if, people aren't persuaded of it in the first place. And if you're just preaching, then it further reinforces that, you don't have actual reasons and arguments, and instead that you just like to hear yourself talk.
Well, there's a lot to say when there's a lot to say, and they didn't have enough budget, nor did they have enough time to fit it all in there. So they had to cut it short. They had to make those blanketed claims without explanation. And all the while, the atheist is watching this movie, either A, throwing up, B, sleeping, or C, becoming a hardened atheist, even more of an atheist, because he's watching a Christian movie that does not do anything to explain why Christianity is true or why creation should be believed in versus evolution.
Right. And the other thing is, you notice how, because I see, people like Ken Ham and stuff, they make this leap from somehow if you prove that evolution is not true, then somehow that entails that Christianity must be. Again, these are the only two options, and that's just not the case. You still have to give...
although I can see Ken Ham gathering around the Thanksgiving table watching this movie as they eat turkey. I mean, I could just imagine that, and believe it. And they're clapping at the end when the guy gives his little speech. And the guy that's probably giving the speech, the actual actor, probably doesn't believe a word of it. But anyways, it's bad. I'm sorry, atheists, that Christians put out movies like this.
Yeah, we'll have to apologize on behalf of the Christian community because the movie's bad. There's no excuse for getting the theory of evolution this wrong. They don't know what it is that they're disagreeing with. And I think it was Roger Olson who said, before you say I disagree, make sure you can say I understand. And these people are wrong from square one. They don't know what the theory of evolution is. They don't know what the arguments are supporting it. It was just an excuse for them to make a movie to, complain about the theory of evolution. And, production values and stuff aside, it's a bad message.
Amen. And, we're going to stop it there. So, David, next week, we've got a very awesome podcast that I'm excited for. I hope you're just as excited. We have got a three-way podcast. I was able to pull together Real Seeker Ministries, the Mentionables, and ourselves to do a show that's all about Christmas. So I hope you're excited about that. I just want to let the audience know that's going to happen on the 19th. So be ready to tune in there. After that, we're taking a break. We're going to take the rest of the holiday season off.
Nice.
January, we've got more to come. We should be producing more videos, and the videos are going to get better quality. So anything you want to say, David?
Just tomorrow, anyone who might be interested, if you want to tune into Soteriology 101, me and Dr. Leighton Flowers will be discussing the issue of total depravity. But yeah, other than that, I think that's it.
All right. Well, David, I hope you don't get schooled too bad there, everybody. We love you. Leave us a comment. This is PORA Raw. We are out.